Okay, starting over, Tuesday the 4th of September, we ran the boat for about an hour, started at our harbor, went out through the canal, out to East Marin Island. We ran about 7 minutes at full throttle, wide open, 1850 RPM, about 7 miles an hour. And no overheating at all. It was staying below 130 degrees the whole time. So the cooling is very groovy. I'm going to sit down here. I couldn't film it because the battery was dead on the camera. And I'm hoping you're seeing my head now. It doesn't look right, but I guess. So we got the camera on an umbilical. Let me sit back here and rest. So we started out at 10 minutes after 12, and the wind was blowing from the southwest about 15 miles an hour. And we headed out the channel on a northeasterly heading. And what I did was I took my GPS. All these speeds are in miles per hour, so 20% less for knots. Nautical miles 6,000 feet and a statute miles 5,280, so I don't know, it's about 17% less. So what I did is I just noted the speeds at various RPMs, and I was keeping my eye on the temperature gauge too, and no overheating problems at all, just steady as a rock, so I was real happy there. 1100 RPM, 4.7 miles an hour, 1300 RPM, 5.2, 5.4, variation for wind and current. 1500 RPM, 5.7 miles an hour, and wide open 1850 if you wait long enough, 1825, 1850, right around 7.1 miles an hour. At 20 minutes after, so it had been running for 10 minutes or more. We were out in the channel, and I ran it at full throttle, and well, let's see, I ran it more than 5 minutes. At 12:25, I measured the temperature, about 125 degrees Fahrenheit. After about 7 minutes, I turned around. So the reverse course, and did the same thing again. 1300 RPM, 4.9 miles an hour. Had 5.2, 5.4 previously. 1400 RPM, 5.2. 1500 RPM, 5.7, and we're really going back into the wind at that point. And see, I've got 1400 RPM. I got in a wind shadow someplace and went up to 5.3. So there you go. Stayed right around 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit the whole time. If you remember from the last video, I had two little marks pretty close together that I said I thought were 130 and 145, and I never saw it get up any higher than the lower of those two marks, so right around estimated 130 degrees, and sometimes it was running a little lower than that. So 120, 130 degrees seems to be what it's running at. Full throttle or slow didn't seem to make much difference at all. When I got back into the dock, I let it idle for 5 minutes to cool down, turned the engine off for a little while, turned it back on, and it had not gone up higher. So I think that's a good practice to just let it idle a few minutes after it's run hard, and let the cylinder, the block in the cylinder head cool back down again, so it won't boil its coolant when it turns off. So all in all, very, very successful day. We know we've cured the overheating. We know that the temperature is running stable. I cleaned the connection on the temperature sender for the temperature gauge, and didn't see any of that jumping around I saw before, and it was a little corroded. I think maybe the phosphoric acid or the water that I douched all over it did it, but put contact cleaner on it, cleaned it up good, and it was nice and stable. So I think we're really, really, really good in the engine department at this time. Last thing to do is going to be to change the fine fuel filter in the fuel injection system, and put some fresh diesel with some additive in it, and I think we can just walk away from it. So I'm going to have my sandwich now. That was Tuesday, and I was thinking maybe I was going to have to do some de-rusting treatment for the engine, but I just see no need for it. It's just working the way it should. So everything good. Oh, and I told myself I would get a haircut. I wouldn't cut my hair till the boat sold. I think if the boat doesn't sell now, it's not the boat's fault. I think the buyer should be quite happy with what's happening, and I got my ears lowered.